South Korea Against Zombies Part 1. Just a small part of the story. I, as a teenager, had seen so much Korean cinema that I naturally started learning the language, and then I studied it. At that time, the current AI-assisted machine translators were still not available. I had to study languages. STUDYANDLEAR, my name is John Alvar, and obviously, I was commissioned to accompany SEUL to one of the CEOs of the company where I worked, for the comfort of my employer and his wife. The CEO, Mr. Pagliacci, was a man of impeccable appearance. His dark suit and his perfectly hairy hair showed no signs of the catastrophe that was coming. He always carried a custom pistol, a constant reminder of his position of power. At the meetings at THE Mighty Pharmaceutical Company, her voice was very soft but firm. I translated him into Korean, and as his translator, I tried to convey his words accurately. His wife, Mrs. Haid, often accompanied him. She was an elegant woman with so evasive eyes that she seemed to hide some secret. The first outbreak was like a silent lamentation that spread through the streets of Seoul. Nobody was prepared for what would come next. The zombies emerged from the shadows, hungry and ruthless. The onset of the outbreak in Seoul was subtle, almost imperceptible. The first isolated cases were presented as a strange disease that doctors could not diagnose. The patients showed high fever, delusions and unusual aggressiveness. But the most disturbing was his rapid recovery, followed by a state of lethargy and then transformation. The first infected, as they began to be called, were almost unrecognizable. Her eyes became glassy, her skin pale and cold to the touch. They moved smoothly and uncoordinatedly, but with a surprising force. And the worst of all was his insatiable hunger for human flesh. The reaction of the public, at first, was incredulity and jokes. News about the infected were spread, but many dismissed them as exaggerations. However, as the cases multiplied, fear began to take over. THEPEOPLEINTHECITY. The institutions responded as they could. Hospitals were filled with sick. Doctors worked day and night trying to find a cure. Police and the army tried to maintain order by establishing quarantines and blockades. But nothing seemed to stop the spread of the virus. One day, Seoul was a bustling city. The next day, it was a battlefield. The zombies wandered through the streets, attacking the living. Buildings turned into fortresses, houses into mortal traps. The society as we knew it began to collapse. And the collapse came abruptly. In the middle of the chaos, the survivors gathered together, forming communities to protect themselves. Some were seeking refuge in the highest buildings, others were hiding in the subway fighting to survive. And so began our struggle. A group of survivors, united by necessity, facing a world we no longer recognized. Mr. Pagliacci had one weakness, his wife. They left the hotel, and I think they forgot about me because they left without warning me. My group of survivors was diverse. We met in circumstances as chaotic as the world around them. So this unlikely team was formed, the doctor, with a warm look, at least with me. The West must be grateful to him. Like a speaking serpent. Yoon-jae worked in a Seoul hospital. When the first cases of infection began to arrive, she was on the front line, trying to save lives. When the hospital was invaded by zombies, Yoon-jae managed to escape and encountered Min-ho, who helped her survive. Min-ho was a soldier in the South Korean army. When the outbreak began, her unit was one of the first to be deployed to contain the infection. After a lost battle, Min-ho found himself alone and disoriented in a ruined city. It was then that he met Yoon-jae and decided to protect her. Haewon was a computer science student at a Seoul University. When the infection spread across the campus, he used his hacking skills to escape the closed building. On the streets, she met Yoon-jae and Min-ho, who welcomed her. The genius girl who could hack anything but her own past. And I, the accidental translator WITHMONKEYFACE, who had turned out of necessity. After Mr. Pagliacci and Mrs. have escaped abandoning me when the outbreak began, I was trapped in the ruins of a foreign city, struggling to survive. I met Yin Jai, Minutes Ho, and Hey-1 after looking for food in an abandoned supermarket. We were facing some infected people. We were fighting criminals who don't exist in Korea, by the way. And we were infiltrating government facilities. But, deep down, we all knew that the real threat were not the living dead, but the living. Morality was becoming blurred. In a fuzzy environment, the decisions were not white or black, but a range of grays. And so, we fought for our lives. We were just survivors. We witnessed the fragility of civilization, the darkness hidden in the hearts of men and women who were once foreigners. A fight for survival and for what it means to be human. The city of Seoul, once full of life, a life full of social and labor pressures, where everyone competes for being the best and the most beautiful in a quietly cruel society. If you weren't the best, you'd be in ruins now. Its streets, once full of people, resonated with the echo of lonely steps and the creaking of debris. Collapse had come, and humanity was on the verge of extinction. I'm one of the few survivors in this nightmare. The days of modern technology, bustling cafes and neon lights were left behind. Now, survival was our only goal. But even in the midst of chaos, government corruption persisted. Governments in general, what was left of them, operated from an underground bunker. The leaders, protected by their armies, cling to power. The promise of safe shelters and supplies, in exchange for loyalty, was the currency of exchange. But some of us knew they were more interested in their own buttocks than in saving MONE. Betrayal was on the agenda. Today's allies could become enemies tomorrow. The mistrust was rooted in the hearts. Who could blame us? Where the dead walked and food was scarce, loyalty was a luxury that few could afford. The origin of the explosive zombie outbreaks remains a mystery, a shadow that lies over humanity. Theories abound, but none has been confirmed and officially remains a mystery. Officially. The virus spread rapidly, turning people into hungry creatures of human flesh. Conspiracy theories abound. What if governments or corporations conducted secret experiments? What if they manipulated human DNA to create biological weapons? And if so, they lost control and unleashed hell. In the darkest legends, there is talk of ancestral curse that punished us with a plague of the undead. The decline of society could also have been a factor. Inequality, corruption, and the lack of empathy weakened human ties. When zombies emerged, civilization was already on the brink of the abyss. But, ultimately, these are only conjecture. The truth could be hidden in the ruins of a ruined city or in the glassy eyes of a hungry walker. The rest, like the shadows in the night, remains unrevealed. After our meeting at the supermarket, things started quickly. We realized that in order to survive, we needed to work together. So, with our combined skills, we formed a team. We settled in an abandoned apartment building that had solar panels in the heart of Seoul. Despite being in the middle of the city, it was a strategic position. It was high enough to have a good view of the surroundings and detect any threat in advance. Moreover, its solid structure provided us with reasonable protection against zombies. The building had several entrances and exits that we blocked but that we could also use to escape in case of emergency. And there was a system of tunnels that connected with other buildings, which allowed us to move more discreetly. We converted several apartments into storage and work areas. Hey-1 established an operations center where he could work on his communications and hacking tasks. Yin-Jai set up a small medical clinic. Minutes Ho and I were in charge of security and defense. Despite the circumstances, we managed to create a safe haven. Hey-1, a brilliant computer scientist, is a box of surprises. Although she is open and friendly, there are aspects of her past that she keeps secret. Hey-1 was a computer science student at a prestigious university. Before the outbreak, however, there is evidence that their experience goes beyond formal education. Her ability to hack security systems and decipher codes suggests that she might have been involved in not very holy activities before the collapse. Hey-1 sometimes shows surprising knowledge. This has led me to speculate that maybe he had some sort of encounter with the infection before it spread. Only she knows. Despite her secrets, Hey-1 is a valuable member of our group. Their ability to access vital information on security systems and city cameras, which are more than any city in the world, has enabled us to find safe shelters and necessary resources. And while her past may be full of mysteries, it's clear she's committed to helping us all survive.